Thanks for being at my home place for us for a change. So it's good. It's better than all this online video zooming, isn't it?
It definitely is. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the invite.
So you want to talk about certain aspects in relation to Agile and effective working in companies.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking about having a chat about high-performing teams.
High-performing teams.
Yes.
So how many of our listeners do you think you will have experience from working in a high-performing team?
I guess not too many, honestly. Myself, I think I have seen really high-performing too in my entire career since 2001.
2 high-performing teams in 2001. Okay. For myself, I've been talking about team and team performance in previous videos on my channel, and I already said as well I've seen what I would consider high-performing 3 in my career since 1996.
So quite similar, in fact, not too many. Yeah.
Luckily, I had luck to be in one. So if I look at my initial days being employee number 12, I think with a subset of those 12, we were a really high-performing, really well-gelling team. Where it's really like, this is one of them, which I would consider high-performing. And you?
And I was pretty similar. I've been in one since, the first was in 2001, about 7-8 people. Yeah. Closely collaborating, and then the other one was more around 2012, so about 10 years later.
So what makes a real team?
For me, a real team, close collaboration every single day, working together towards goals, reaching goals, learning together. That are the first 3 items that jump to mind. And yourself?
How do you observe this? So before
how do you observe
close
this?
Collaboration and things. So when I help an organization, most probably when you help organization as well, and you say, okay, are you a good team? Everybody goes yes, and they also we collaborate.
Yeah. Collaboration for me, and what I observe with these people is that it's really together behind the screen, one keyboard, doing stuff together, behind whiteboards, drawing solutions together, interacting all the time together. Coming to solutions together.
So you're talking about
not ping-pong. Sorry?
Are you talking about mob programming and mob working, because you said one computer?
Mobbing.
So then my head immediately goes to we are doing a kind of ensemble or mob programming.
Yeah, so mobbing, pairing, working effectively together. Not like I do something, I give it to you, you review, you give me feedback. That's ping-pong for me. That's not working together.
That's not working together.
No, that's not working together.
As a team member, I have tasks to do, you have tasks to do. So
yeah, but why can't we do them together? I learn from you, you learn from me, and together, really together, we come to the solution. Because if I do something, I don't get your feedback immediately, so there's a delay in everything. While as we would work together on the same whiteboard, on the same laptop, on the same. Then immediately the knowledge of both of us would be in the solution.
Okay, so you say collaboration is really visually seeing people working together on the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. What are conditions to make it happening like that then, in your opinion?
I do favor in-person collaboration, but with the current technologies, I get it that it's possible also remote. It's about the tooling then. It's all about the tooling. What allows us to really sit together and work together, be it remote or in person.
Can you give us some examples?
If you are in a physical workplace, you can use one screen, one keyboard. You can use the same whiteboard. You can use the same flip charts. If you are in a remote setting, you can use tools such as Miro and Mural to actively do stuff together. You can do screen sharing. You can everything that allows you to work with multiple people on the same thing at the same moment.
Okay. On top of that, by the way, maybe things you're less familiar with, you have Code With Me and Live Share in Visual Studio. So for coding, there's tooling or plugins on the IDEs available to have multiple people coding within one IDE from different locations.
Yeah, nice. That's very good.
Yeah. So this is a real collaboration. So if I relate to this, then again, if I look at my history and also some of the research papers I had, then it's not just like, okay, you know what, we do work together, It's creating conditions that we basically are somehow forced to work together, I would even say. It's what Greg Larman calls as culture follows structure. So you set up a structure that would require, not just enable, but require team collaboration. And then you work on real collaborative practices and techniques to get to some kind of high-performing state. If you mentioned tooling, and now you say Miro, so digital whiteboarding, which is effective, not ineffective digital whiteboarding like some others are. So which I think is great. Then in the code and the IDE, things to enable multiple people to work together, I think is great. But then you have tools like work management tools. I mainly think about tools to do work, I think is great, which we both discussed about. Tools to manage work are not so great. And you immediately go, so Steve, please elaborate. Before I do, you do.
Yeah, agreed.
You go first.
You hear tools like all those ticketing systems of Jira and similar. Instead of helping people, I have the feeling they are more constraining than something else, because the tool forces you to do certain things which don't add a lot of value, not to say no value. They don't give visualization. They don't allow you to actively work together. They are just to list things that you can way better visualize in other tooling. So, not my cup of tea.
But better visualization, not better visualization. I think visualization could be a kind of a flavor. Everybody has their own flavor of visualization.
Could be.
So maybe Jira is, or Azure DevOps is for me a more nicer looking visualization than what we would do in Miro and Muro.
Is it nicer? Does it really makes visual what is, for example, most important and then second important and then
top down,
but then they're related to other items also? How do you deal with, there is a goal, there is an intermediate goal, there are items linked to that goal, and then there is stuff. And this is what I see in Jira. There is a lot of stuff. It's like a bin, and everything is dropped in the bin. If you have a whiteboard, physical or digital, you want to clean up that thing. And in Jira or similar, it doesn't invite you to do that. You just have that list, and it's fine. It's in a list, and people don't look at it. Whereas in a whiteboard, people want to get rid of that.
Yeah, most probably. I have a slightly different thought pattern in relation to that. I think if I think to look at whiteboards are very open, creative, and in my opinion, or how I tend to use it or help people using it, is whiteboards are there to progress your thinking and your creative ideation. So it's helping people to progress. You have an idea, I have an idea. Once we start drawing our ideas out, we can compare with each other visually. We can merge them with each other visually. So I think it's all good, whiteboards, for information that is temporarily available or needed. Because if we are or in a creative process of thinking about solutions, thinking about different things, then whiteboards are very useful because information is changing continuously. And a whiteboard, whiteboard, you white out what you don't need anymore, you change what is required. Well, I think things like maybe workflow management tools are more into, we want to capture documentation, which is for me two different things. In a whiteboard, we can do whatever we want, we can visualize whatever we want, we can add rich information, we can also make ticketing on a whiteboard, but in a general workflow management system, I see it more as we want to trace and we want to have long-living documentation, while whiteboards are for short-living documentation.
But if you then look back to high-performing teams, if you look at the balance between what sets of living information do we need that is continuously shifting compared to the documentation we do need for future reference probably or other things, if you look at the balance, where would that be for you then?
Well, if you look about collaboration, it's about merging our thinking. So this is where I think lots of people have a misperception about continuous integration. They think it's all about integrating code and technology, but continuous integration also means continuous integrating what you think would be the solution, what I think would be the solution. So a mob session that I did, because you came up with mobbing, so we facilitate a mob session with different teams. where we had 30 minutes of refining a new screen with new business functionality. This was one sentence thing, we want this new screen with this kind of functionality. We spent 30 minutes with 2 teams together in a very, very, very high level idea what the screen could look like, and then we started coding as 2 teams together in one mob on the back end. But the coding, by applying TDD, we start to integrate our IDs, not from one person, 2 person, but from everybody involved. So because continuous integration on IDs while coding, we get more of an ID. And then we actually split in front end, back end, where front end driver went as a navigator in the back end, the back end driver went as a navigator in the front end. So we also always have continuous integration on IDs. And I think whiteboards enable the continuous integration on the ideation of things.
Okay.
So that's where I think it's important for the collaboration.
Yeah.
So that we continuously can integrate where we want to. And the better we can express our ideas to each other, the easier it is to build on top of them.
Yeah, fully aligned on that.
So
fully aligned.
So that's where I think that again, you said no Jira, but I can appreciate Jira as a documentation tool for release notes, for example. Why not create release notes in this kind of documentation system?
Why not? If it works, it does work. Yeah. Fine for me. My preference would be more Confluence or Google Docs or similar. But as you say, why not?
Well, I think if we have longer lived documentation, maybe it has its benefits. I'm a coder for a long time already, so I'm not that great anymore as I used to be. But I still know we have this kind of single responsibility. And I think if we comply single responsibility, if we look at most of the workflow management tools, they are not focused on doing one thing good. Especially, for example, one of my recent clients has also a workflow management tool. So, but they used it to manage backlogs, product backlogs, as you're familiar with. They use it to manage sprint backlogs, as you're familiar with. They also did release management with it, time tracking. What else did they do? Release notes on top of it. There were 2 more things. So this is we use it for 7, 8 different purposes. What do you get? Yeah, all of them are somehow addressed, but none of them are done well.
Yeah, indeed. Everything is suboptimal. Yeah.
Okay. So if we go to real good teams, this collaboration, we already touched with Klarman structures for culture. So tooling is one thing. What other structures can you think of that would help?
What I've witnessed with the 2 teams that were very strong, in my experience, was that they needed each other. So there were people who were way stronger in testing than others. There were people who were way stronger in development than the testers then. But they could do the basics, and then together they supported each other and grew together. And where the one was stronger helped the other in coming stronger, and vice versa. So it's collaborative learning on the strengths and weaknesses of each other, growing together.
Yeah, if we look back at the time when I was part of such a very high effective team, I think what contributes very well is that we had one goal for all of us together. Yeah. And I could not reach the goal without my peers, actually, without my buddies. Yeah. And the other way around, they needed me as well. Yeah. And on top of that, if we look at the goals, I think, 20 years ago when we were coding and things like that, it was a bit more loosely done than most companies these days. For example, I did really messed up a client database at once. So drop table, commit, and once I pushed enter on the commit, I realized, shit, it's production. That's fire in a hole. Yeah. And then we also discovered the customer didn't have their backups really well arranged. So, but then the full team I worked with at that moment in time went like full heads on trying to fix it. There was no blaming. It was not, hey, you are laughing with each other. Shush. Like for us all, like how can we get it all done for the client? So we had high stress together as well. Yeah. We also, if we were successful, like then at 4 or 5 a.m., we managed to get everything arranged. We worked to the entire night. At that moment in time, it's also partying for all of us together. So there's high stress together. There's high celebration together. Yeah. And I think next to we need each other, I also think that to create a high performing team should be able to easily undergo like high stress, but also high celebration together.
Yeah, agreed on that one. I think without the conflict situations, one as you described, you can never get to a high performing team. So conflicts is fundamental that they learn to deal with it, and step by step they, as a team, grow, and they learn what they can expect from each other in these situations and how to behave with each other in those situations. No conflict, no high-performing team.
Yeah. Now we talked a bit about all conditions to make a high, like...
There's one more,
Yeah,
I think,
go ahead.
and you triggered yourself on it during your explanation of it. It's goals. It should be about team goals, not individual tasks or stuff. And I think that's very important. If a team does not receive an objective to achieve, they will never knit together to solve it together. I think that's a big one also.
Sometimes I say, we as human beings, we have this tendency to take the path of the least resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And collaborating, really, truly collaborating with people is not easy. I have experienced this myself in the early days, Employee 12, where a subset was really collaborating. It's not necessarily the fun thing. At the beginning, once it's there and you have high effective, that's cool, but getting there is no fun at all. It's very difficult. So to take the path of the least resistance, what I sometimes see is that, you are a scrum trainer, so in sprint planning, we split up everything in so much details, tasks, so that I know what to do and that you know what to do, and for the rest of the sprint, we don't need to collaborate.
Yeah.
So this I see often happening. So how in less effective teams then?
Yeah, that's a similar experience with me. I see a lot of teams in sprint planning just going into task level, at individual level assigned, and that doesn't help collaboration at all. So my advice is there each time, do you align on the goal? Do you see what is needed to be updated in the solution, in the architecture, in whatever, together? And then during the dailies, you have time enough to align that these two people will collaborate on something and then three others on something if needed, but not individual task assignments. Not.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the major thinking mistakes that many take, is that to be able to do something, people need tasks.
No, that's not true.
I've seen highly good working teams that actually have no tasks whatsoever.
Yeah, same.
The same for you.
Yeah, same for me. So there was the first team that I experienced like that. There was a challenge which they all now call continuous integration and stuff, and that was their challenge. It was all too slow and it just took too much time. And so there were three guys who said, "Hey, this interests me, this topic. Let's stick together for a few hours and see what we can come up with to do something." So they came after 3 hours with some ideas, discussed with the rest of the team, tried out a few things the next day, and after about a week and a half, they had continuous integration.
Yeah.
That was good enough for them at that moment.
It's funny that you go with continuous integration. I started with it as well. It's not just the code itself, but I think it's a great contributor to growing highly effective teams. In the sense, like, if you have somebody that is more experienced in doing functional analysis, and you let them work out some kind of detailed idea about the functionality you need to do for a week, and then after the week they go to a more of a technical skilled person, and this technical skilled person says, yeah, but because of some technical constraints or architectural constraints or legacy, whatever, it doesn't matter. So this thing that you think of as a functional solution, it's impossible. That's the moment when you see people going to violently resist the feedback because the delay in the integration of the ideas. I think it's the emotional investment. Yeah. For me, the same thing. I've been a coder, I still code. If you allow me to code on certain thing for 2 weeks in a row, and they say, hey, Jurgen, it's great, but you need to completely change it, I would also violently resist the change. Yeah. And this typical. If you do this to me, then instead of trying to collaborate more with you, maybe I want to try to avoid your opinion as much as I can.
Yeah. That's typical things that I still observe in a lot of teams. As soon as there is a part that is upfront and a part that is later, collaboration is killed for a big part.
So if we agree on this thing, then the continuous integration is not only the ideas, it's the ability of a full team to, like many others explaining as well, but mainly in code then, but for me it's more than a code, it's the ability to grow things in an evolutionary way. So start small and do small changes. meaning small ideations on functional things, small on architecture, small on coding, small on testing, so that we get very fast feedback. If it's small on functional, then I don't need a week to do analysis. I need half an hour to straighten out my IDs. I push it to you. You have some feedback on it. You start coding back and forth. So,
and what I observe is that making it smaller and smaller is so difficult for starting teams. They really struggle with that. They really struggle with saying, hey, we have a request here, it's quite big. And they struggle in making it so small that in an hour with the team, they can come up with functional expectations. And that in the hour after, for example, they still stick together and they work out impact on architecture and they deliver something in a few hours. They each time see that big monster request.
No. So thinking about big monster requests versus small change is either an enabler or disabler to become an effective team.
For me, it is.
Yeah. So if we summarize a bit, so we have we have both experience apparently in highly effective teams. So for a highly effective team, we must be in a structure that requires us to actually forces us to work together. In the sense of we have multiple skills in a team, and actually the task, well, not really the task, the assignment that is being given is more goal-oriented or problem-oriented, and it's just like you need each other now. You really need each other to make it happen, to fix it, to reach it. Mm-hmm. So that's a condition. Another condition is not big, but very small.
Yeah.
So having the ability as a team to do small changes continuously. So what else would you...
And the third one was the right tooling.
The right tooling.
That helps people.
Okay, I forgot about
that. That was the third one.
Even though I have quite a lot of videos on
tooling.
Yeah, tooling. So the right tooling to support this behavior. CI tooling, but also
any
integration of IDs tooling.
Practices.
Okay. Yeah. Any other things to add on creating real teams or the misconceptions about real teams?
I think these are the three main aspects that I see. And then after that, you will start seeing results.
So I thought this conversation was important, Steven, that we had this, so that we come together, both having experience on real teams, because I think everywhere where I go, they all have teams. Everybody has teams.
Always.
Yeah, and if we then ask, are you a good team? You always get the answer, yes. Yeah. So why is this a reference model then so different, and why do so many people out there think, yes, we have a great team, while if I would look at it, and apparently you would look at it, it's like, we don't even see a team.
No, yeah.
So why?
It has to do, I think, with the experience people had in the past. So before my 2001 experience, I also worked in teams, and to me at that moment they were also great. We had a lot of fun. We enjoyed working together, which was more ping-pong game. But anyhow, it is only since I've met those people, worked with that, within that structure, with these results, and really actively every single day be with them, that I understood what a great team was.
So, but before that, now you mentioned, we did some ping-pong collaboration.
Yeah.
So you thought it was okay, but now you would call it not okay and ping-pong. Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, so before it was more, I do my little thing, my task that was assigned, and I did it very well. It was handed over to a colleague who took over, who did it very well. And so you had a whole workflow, and in the end you have a result that you feel, hey, this is okay. After that experience, it was okay, but if you would have had intermediate fast feedback by working together, first of all, it would have been way faster. We would have had way more fun, not only at the coffee machine having a chat. And I'm convinced that the result, the outcome in the end would have been way better.
Okay.
But way better, all of the three.
So you think many people have this same misconception by, you know what, we all do our tasks and we get to some result at the end is good enough, that this is already like, this is a good teamwork?
Yeah, this is what I see when I join new companies. Yeah, we are doing this, Steven, we are doing this. Until you ask, how do you collaborate? Yeah. Until you ask, what's the result of it after 2 weeks? and then you see people that start thinking.
I have a hypothesis that this is still the, in Dutch, nasleep, in English.
Nasleep. That's a fair point.
So the tail end of the matrix organizations.
The aftermath.
We used to be structured in functional silos, and let's be honest, if you're in a functional silo and, for example, we're all Java backend engineers, if you then give me task, you cannot give me a team task. It's impossible because all of us can do each other's work. So meaning whatever task you give to us, either every individual can do it on their own.
Yeah.
So, but we are so used in the tasks, the same thing for a functionalist and all the rest that we had. So now we say cross-functional, but we still have this kind of tail end or things getting us in there. So we need tasks to be able to execute upon this. So even if we get a team goal or a team task where everybody needs to contribute to get to something, for some reason we feel we still need to split it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the past history we still feel connected to. And if people think like, but in the past we were isolated, we just have backend and somewhere else they have front and we didn't even talk. Now we talk. We first have a little bit of analysis, a little bit of backend, a little bit of frontend, and then we do a little bit of integration and testing together. And they think like this is real collaboration because it's already very different than before.
Yeah, so it is indeed already very different, but it's not the end goal. The end goal should be do it together. The thing that I often hear done with teams, if I discuss that, is that, but I cannot learn that. It will take me way too long. And I think that's a misconception, especially in the world we live in. I think we can learn little things fast enough to help colleagues. That's my experience anyway, so far, if people want to.
Okay. Cool. The biggest, for me is like, I think COVID didn't really help. I think even though I'm a fan of remote work, by the way, I actually help people in remote settings. I think it can work. But for me personally, after now COVID and all the rest of the experiences that I'm also strongly believing like it's never going to be as good as in-person teamwork in one room. So and one of the examples is a client I had where we really had teamwork, sometimes mobbing, sometimes not, but really teamwork and continuous integration on ideas, but also on code. And then COVID kicked in. And then within COVID, we grew the amount of teams there in this piece of the organization. And once COVID was slowing down and people could go back to the office, the teams that worked together before COVID immediately discussed about coming together again in different offices, but as a team. The others that were on board during COVID, they found it still okay to just, we must go to the office at least one day a week. So they all went just to the different offices, which were closest to their home, but they never came together as a team anymore.
True.
And I think this is the difference. The people that experienced the kind of teamwork we are talking about versus the people that never had it.
That's a big factor. I was chatting with someone else about a week ago, and he said, I still prefer to go back to the office. And I was thinking, but wait. For you, literally, that means 2 hours single trip. And he prefers to go to the office because what you're just mentioning. And to be honest, if I would be CEO of a bigger company and I have teams, it would be you join in company in person or you will not match my company because of that reason. I'm pretty strict in that one for myself.
So could we conclude if we go to an organization and we say to, are you a good team? And they say yes. And then we say, okay, from now on, we're always going to sit together as a team, at least two days out of 5. Full days sitting together. And they immediately all say, yes, we do. Then you have a great team. If they start doubting, then we should also start doubting. If they say, no way, we don't do this, we also know it's not a good team.
That could certainly be a good indicator of this is a good or not a good team.
Let us end this conversation with this. So, dear viewers here, if you want to understand, do I have a good team or a high-performing team, yes or no? It's very simple. You go to them and you say, from now on, at least 2 days per week in the office all together. If they have problems with it, most probably they were not a good team.
Yeah.
Great?
Yeah, top.
Okay.
Thanks.
See you around.
Bye.